Hey everyone, welcome back to AGT Time. It's tournament season, and we're back for our AGT bracket once again. Cody Patterson here along with AGT Commenter. How you doing, Commenter?
All right, perfect. I'm excited. I'm excited. It's the second installment of the bracket. Obviously, we did this last year. If you remember, last year was a 32 team bracket. Cody asked me on like a Sunday night, "Hey, can you come up with something for us to talk about to do a podcast this week?" I was like, "Sure." So I threw it together in about a couple of days in the middle of the work season. So it was fun. It went well, but um, it wasn't as good as it could be. And so we're back this year, and I think you would agree with that, Cody. So we're
Yeah,
back this
yep.
year with a better bracket, a more uh, extensive bracket, a more painstakingly thought out bracket that Cody and I had spent really the last most of this winter, and then we
Yes.
really the last couple of days have refined it down, um, and a painstaking process. We've narrowed it down to what we believe to be the perfect 68 act bracket.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah,
and
we've already put in multiple hours of this bracket.
yes,
You've done a lot of research. You've taken your
yep,
rankings. I kind of just picked some things off the top of my head, but we've put in extensive work on this bracket.
yep. And Cody, it's been worth every second, if you
It's
ask
been
me.
worth it. This is a
Um,
beautiful bracket.
yes, it's a beautiful bracket. I'm gonna if you want to do the business quick, then I'll get into kind of the breakdown of how we got to where we are with this 68 act bracket.
Sure, absolutely. So once again, you can reach us, not Regis. We'll get into Regis here in a
We'll
moment, but
get
you
to
can
him in a minute.
yes, you can reach us on Twitter AGT Time Pod, Facebook AGT Time Pod, Instagram AGT Time Pod. Also, our email address agttimepod@gmail.com, and our website agttime.com. No pod on the website, just agttime.com. Commenters out on social medias as well. AGT Commenter. He's on all the social medias, very active, very exciting. Tweet at us once you hear the bracket, you hear all of our selections. Today we're going to do this is selection day. This is what we put the
Yes.
bracket together. We've seeded all the teams, and we're going to release the bracket as well, so you all can see it. You can play along at home. We'd love for you to take pictures, send in your bracket. We want to see how you all did as well, and kind of compare what you all did to what we did. So I'm going to turn it over to Commenter because he's going to kind of drive this thing. He's going to go through everything, and I'm going to kind of let him just take it from here.
Yeah. Okay. So the breakdown of the bracket this year. So I would say what, Cody, this might have started even last spring. Kind of our
Yes.
initial thoughts of, okay, we did a 32 team bracket. Is 64 or 68 too many? Maybe. um, but who cares?
Yeah,
And so what we came to was
there's a lot of acts in AGT. There's a lot of acts to pick from,
right.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
we got
after
16 seasons.
we released the podcast in 2021, we were like, we got to get ready for 2022. We were already prepping at that
Yes.
point, so
Yeah. And so uh, we knew 68 was going to be kind of a daunting task just to get a field put together. So the idea I came up with to help streamline it was the idea that you see also in the big basketball tournament, which is the idea of automatic bids. And so how we did that is there's been 16 seasons, and so the winners and the runners up from each of those seasons got an automatic bid into the tournament. So we've included every winner and every runner up.
yeah,
So America,
we did not include champions.
except for the second season of Champions, we did.
Okay.
So the first season of Champions was Darcy Lynn and Shin Lim were runner up and winner. They already had their automatic bid from their season. The second season of Champions had two a winner and a runner up that hadn't won a season yet or runner up in the season. So to get us to 34 and 34, a perfect split, we took that second season of Champions. But we let America then basically, Cody, we let America decide half of this bracket. Um,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
we just took who they picked to be their
That's right.
winners and runners up, and we just so America. This is as much your bracket as it is me and Cody's.
That's right.
So the
Some of these picks, it's your fault, America. You did
yeah
this.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah. If you have any complaints about anybody in this field of that 34, then you only have yourselves to blame. Um, And so then the other 34, which we would call an at-large bid, was deliberation by me and Cody. I kind of put a handful straight through. He put a handful straight through. Then we deliberated. We ranked them and stuff, and we got to 34 at-large bids. I will say, anybody who's been on this show as a guest
That's right. It's been on
did
the podcast.
automatically get into yeah.
That's right. Anyone
Has
that's
been on the podcast. Yeah, any contestant's been on the podcast for an interview with us did automatically make the field also. So there's going to be a couple in there.
It's our show. We can do that.
Yeah, so there's a couple acts that are going to be in here where you may be like, are they really should be in the field of 68? Well, we are easily bought, Cody. From
That's right.
I guess
That's right.
if
you were on AGT and you are not in this bracket, give us a call. Come on the show.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll be in it next year.
Yeah, if you didn't make this bracket and you're mad about it as a former contestant, there's a very easy way to get into next year.
That's right. Come on the show and talk to us about it.
100%.
We'll fix it.
100%. Okay. And so what we'll do to start, I think, is I think we can get right into the bracket, and then we'll go into some more of the logistics after.
Yeah, so just give the general information of the bracket itself. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like we said, 68 teams. So it looks a lot just like the big basketball bracket. 4 regions.
Yeah, so
four regions are
for those listeners that are not familiar with the NCAA tournament, kind of give a little breakdown of how that works.
Yeah, so there's basically 4 regions, and so if you're looking at the bracket, it's basically 2 sides of a bracket, and then 4 regions, so basically 4 corners of the bracket. Then there's 16 teams in each bracket, and they're seeded, and basically you'd have to win 6 games to win the championship. So we have the prelims, which would be the first round of this tournament. Then we have auditions, which would be the second round.
Love it.
Then we have judge cuts, which is the third round. Then we have
for the old schoolers, it could be Vegas week.
Vegas week, and then we go quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the finals, which is the championship game. We could have gone top 12, top 6, some of the old layouts too, but we're gonna stick with the more traditional. And so. Again, you're going to be able to see this bracket too once we release it, so you can kind of see the layout as well. We did name the 4 regions, Cody.
Yes.
So the first region, what we did is we took former judges or hosts that have been on the show and are no longer on the show, and they have gotten regions named after them. So the first one is the Jerry Springer Memorial Region. Cody, 10 seconds, quick thoughts on Jerry Springer.
I like Jerry Springer. We've watched him in season 2 and 3 now. Back then I wasn't a huge fan, but he's kind of grown on me. He's not as good as some of the current ones, but he is still kind of fun. I enjoy Springer.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Region 2 will be the Tyra Banks Memorial Region. We both know how much we love Tyra.
That's right.
One of the faithful servants that we've had as a member of the show. She did a great job, of course.
We have a rewatchable category named after her.
Yes, that's how much we love her. The third region is the David Hasselhoff Memorial Region. I know you're a big Hoff fan of the Hoff on the show. I love the Hoff,
yeah. Yep.
So we felt like it was right to have a region named for him. And then the final region name is the Nick Cannon Memorial Region, obviously one that's very near and dear to my heart, my favorite host and my Twitter avatar. If you follow AGT Commenter, it's just Nick Cannon. That's his face. That's what my face is to all of you. So it's
Commenter. I just noticed this as we were going through this, but we talk all the time that America's Got Talent is the judges are not from America, that all these acts are not from America. Every single region named after an American.
Really? Isn't David Hasselhoff German?
He's an American. No, he's American. He's famous in Germany, but he's an American.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, look at us. We're proud to be Americans here on AGT Time. And then our final memorial is for our championship game, and I think it's very fitting. It's a true memorial.
Yes.
It is the Regis Philbin Memorial Championship. R.I.P. Regis, the late great Regis Philbin, our first host. The best host? No, he was fine.
Yeah.
He was the perfect first host because he kicked off the show. He knew what he was doing. So the final memorial is the Regis Philbin Memorial Championship. Okay, so that's kind of the layout of how the bracket looks now. Cody, we are 10 minutes in. I think we're ready to dive into to the bracket into the
Yeah.
68 teams.
Yeah. Let's do it, man. I'm excited about this.
All right. One last thing. So we, like I said, there's 68 teams, which means we had 16 seeds. So that means every 16 seed will start with a playing game. So there's
So they have to win
two
seven
six.
games. They have to win
Yeah,
7 games. Yeah.
which is unlikely.
Yeah.
But so each 16 seed on the bracket has two acts in it, and then so there's a playing game. You got to pick one of them first, and then they'll square off against their one seed. And we'll get into who those are here in a little bit. Okay, I want to start as they do with the big basketball tournament selection show with our 4 1 seeds, the top 4 seeds in the tournament. This actually was kind of a nice deliberation between me and Cody, especially for the last 2 spots. And so we'll go through those. First, we're going to start off with the number 1 overall seed, the GOAT, commenter's greatest of all time. There was three demands I made to Cody, or 3 things that I said were non-negotiable, and one of them was Shin Lim is the number 1 overall seed. that will not be deliberated. That will not be talked about. That is set in stone. And so congrats to Shin Lim again for a second straight year. Receives the number 1 overall seed, and he will be fighting out of the Jerry Springer Memorial region in the upper left corner of the bracket. The number 2 overall seed. I said there was 3 demands or 3 non-negotiables. This is the second of the 3 non-negotiables. The number 2 overall seed is the winner of season 12, the great Miss Darcy Lynn Farmer. Second straight year that she is the number 2 overall seed. She will be fighting out of the Tyra Banks Memorial region in the upper right corner of the bracket. If we make our way then down to the bottom of the bracket, we'll actually go to the bottom left, to the Nick Cannon Memorial region for our number 3 overall seed. Winner of season 11, the great Grace Vanderwall. This was a long deliberation. Cody wanted her as a 2 seed. I wanted her as a 1 seed. We kind of compromised. We got to the point where the compromise was she's a 1 seed. So,
So far, I'm not getting my way up to this point. So
no, Cody, he doesn't disagree with Darcy Lynn. I know that. He's fine with her as a 1 seed. The other 2, maybe not so much. Okay. And then our final number 1 seed, maybe a surprise for some people. This was another long deliberation we had. This was the most kind of who should be in this spot that we talked about for the 1 seeds. Out of the David Hasselhoff Memorial region, we have winner. So all 4 of our 1 seeds are winners. Winner of season 10, the great ventriloquist Paul Zerden. Cody, maybe let the people know why do you think we ended up with Paul as a 1 seed?
Well, I think one reason was that he was second place in our, or actually, no, he was, where did he finish last season? Well, he did very well in our tournament last season. And I most recently watched, I binge watched season 10 back in the fall, and was real impressed with Paul Zerden. This was kind of my dark period for a while, so I went through, binged all of season 10. Paul Zerden really impressed me. I thought he was really funny throughout his entire run. I did think that he was one of the best acts of season 10. We have 3 ventriloquists in here, and he's definitely one of the best. I'm not going to say he is the best, but having 2 ventriloquists as the number 1 seed, pretty impressive. Yeah,
pretty impressive. It's not a overly fruitful category over the years of talent in this on this show, but there's 3 unbelievably good ones, and in terms of talent categories, there's not many that have a better look than the ventriloquists. Okay, all right. So those are our 4 1 seeds: Shin Lim, Darcy Lynn, Grace Vanderwall, and Paul Zerden. Cody, let's dive into then the rest of the 64 teams, and let's start in Shin Lim's bracket.
Yeah, buckle up, everyone. We're going into it.
Okay, I talked about how the 16 seed has two acts. Um, so the first playing game between two 16 seeds, some correlation between these two, Cody, that we talked about beforehand. Uh, Back-to-back seasons, they were both runners-up. So
Yep.
these are two automatic bids. Um, um, Two underwhelming runner-ups, I think, would be the nice way to put it.
Yep.
Both singing groups.
Yep.
And if you're following along, if you haven't caught on, I'll help you out. The first one is the runner-up in season 14. It is Detroit Youth Choir, and they will square off in their opening round playing game against the runner-up in season 15, Broken Roots. Cody, talk about the parallels, I think, between these two acts.
Yeah, so one of the big differences, that's not a parallel between the two is Broken Roots just kind of came out of nowhere. They were actually
Yeah,
eliminated from judge cuts. And then when
right,
someone that was pushed through to the live shows had to pull out, well, they filled that spot. And then they just
right,
took off from there. For some reason, people just fell in love with them, kept voting them through, voting them through. I had them in my draft. Actually, I drafted
yes,
them, and I was able to get them all the way through to second place that
yeah,
season, which was
shocking,
pretty
second place.
incredible. Detroit Youth
Yeah,
Choir is one of these that also was kind of just, I'm not gonna say came out of nowhere, but was not high on our boards. We didn't have them high at
right,
all. We weren't fans of them. Apparently, there was a lot of people that did love them. They were kind of a surprise each week. So, like you said, surprise number two or second or first runner up, second place winners from their
right,
seasons. Yeah.
yeah. So those two will square off, as we said in the playing game. Winner gets the pleasure, gets the honor,
Yeah.
the incredible honor bestowed upon them to square off against Shin Lim in the opening round. So that will be the 116 matchup. Let's move to the 8-9. The 8-9 matchup. Winner presumably of this matchup will also get the honor to play against Shin Lim in the second round. Um,
Hey, I'd
the
be
number eight
careful.
seed.
There could be some upsets out there. 16-1 upsets. You never know.
I'm not going to dignify that with a response. So uh, the, the number eight seed, an at-large bid, coming from season 12, just a semifinalist in season 12,
Yeah.
one of our handful of
Yes.
semifinalists
Yeah.
that made the field.
Kind of one of the few snubs that we'll kind of
Yeah,
talk about in this
yep.
tournament.
He's one of the great mentalists. It is Mr. Colin Cloud,
Yep.
and he will square off against the 9 seed, an automatic bid, a pretty recent act, the runner-up in season 16, Mr. Aiden Bryant. Cody, your thoughts on this matchup?
I like this matchup. I think it's very interesting because we had Colin Cloud, like we said, that was a snub in his season. Semifinalist didn't even get to the finals. Aiden Bryant. I enjoyed Aiden Bryant when he was on
Hmm.
season 16. I thought it was a lot of fun. He was. We kept seeing he's one of the fastest spinners we'd ever seen in these airless acts. Um,
Yeah,
so this is a really good, and kind of for those that aren't aware in the tournament, just because you're an automatic bid doesn't mean you're going to be a high seed.
right.
There's lots of teams or acts in our case that did well in their respective area, but they just because of the way that they kind of get seeded, they're going to be a little bit lower. So it's very normal.
Yep.
Don't be surprised by that.
Yes. Okay. Again, that'll be Colin Cloud, Aiden Bryant,
Yeah.
squaring off to move on. Okay. On to the 4-13 matchup in the Jerry Springer region. The 4 seed, um, an all-time great act. One of the great
Yep.
kid singers that we've seen on
Yep.
the show. Another runner-up, so another automatic bid. Um, an automatic bid from season 12. It is Miss Angelica Hale, and she will square off against another runner-up and another automatic bid. A little bit more of a blast from the past, though.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is the runner-up in season 2. It is Mr. Cass Haley. Cody, this matchup, and of course, you've recently rewatched Cass Haley last year,
Yep.
so maybe give the people kind of some insight on this matchup.
Sure. So Kaz Haley, singer from season 2, finished second to Terry Fader. Very, very fun act to watch. Very good singer. Kind of has that bluesy kind of style to him. Uh,
Hmm.
so it's one of my requirements when we started putting this together, or at least when we finished maybe last season. I told commenter, I want acts from older seasons. So he came through. We've got the winners and the runner-ups, so Kaz Haley in this instance. So this will be a good matchup with Angelica Hale, like you say, one of the premier young acts that we've seen on this show. Huge fan favorite. This will be a great matchup.
Yeah, I think so too. Two classic singers and a couple runners up. So, all right, we're gonna move on then to the 5-12 matchup. A classic upset matchup in the basketball tournament. As we know, you're always smart to, if you're filling out a basketball bracket every year, to pick at least one 12 seed to win a game. I don't know if that's going to happen here, but the 5 seed, someone who has been talked about plenty on this podcast, I would say one of our more talked about acts. He is a third place, so an at-large bid from season 11. It is Mr. John Dornbos, and he will square off against the 12 seed. From season, now I'm blanking on what place this act took.
From season 10?
Yeah. Season 10. Where did he finish?
Well, go ahead and talk about him, and I'll look that up.
So from season 10, another he was just a finalist. A finalist in season 10. It is Piff the Magic Dragon.
Yes.
One of the more
Top
interesting, 10. Kind of eclectic acts that we've seen. Cody, your thoughts on this matchup?
This is a great matchup because you got two magicians, two different styles of magicry. But
magicianry,
yeah, sure. But also not your typical set of magicians. So you've got John Dornbos, who's a great motivational speaker, but does card tricks and throws footballs and does all different, not your regular type of magician. And then you got Piff, who dresses up as a magic dragon, has a puppy dog named Mr. Piffles, does some pretty basic types of tricks, but it's not just about the magic. It's his entertainment. It's his comedy that he brings to the stage as well. So I love that we get this type of matchup with two magicians that are similar but different.
Yep, I love this matchup as well. Okay, we'll move to the bottom half of this region, to the 6 seed. A close friend of the podcast, recurring guest.
Yes.
The third place in season 14. So another at-large bid. It is comedian and, like I said, friend Ryan Niemiller. And he will square off against the 11 seed. A Cody Patterson favorite, one of Cody Patterson's favorite from old seasons. Hailing from season 4, it is the Texas Tenors.
Yeah, this will be a fun matchup as well with Ryan Niemiller and Texas Tenors. Ryan Niemiller, stand-up comedian, multi podcast guest on our show, good friend of the podcast. This will be fun to kind of talk about him against the Texas Tenors from season 4. What place? Third place?
That's a good question. We probably should have written that down.
I think they were. This. I think they might have been third place. They were at least top in the final, the absolute final, the grand finale.
Yes, they weren't at large bid, so we know that they're not top 2.
Right. So I remember them back in season 4. We'll recap them again at some point real soon with season 4. I remember them being on. I love their harmonies. I got real excited when they did like one of the Boston Pops 4th of July specials when I heard that they were going to be on. I was real excited to see that. So it was great to kind of reminisce back and hear their harmonies and the way that they sing, the way they dress. Of course, cowboys, just hats, and they go all out on that. So fun matchup here.
And they finished in 4th place in season 4.
Yeah, 4th place. Okay.
Okay. We'll move on then to the 3-14 matchup. The 3 seed, another winner. The winner of season 9, an automatic bid, one of the great magicians in the history of the show. It is Mr. Matt Franco, and he will square off against the 14 seed from season 5. It is Fighting Gravity. Cody, can you give us a little, maybe even refresher on Fighting Gravity?
Sure. So Fighting Gravity was kind of one of those first acts that used a black backdrop, They would bring the lights down, and then they would do dancing, not like Illuminate or shoot, what's the other one?
Light Balance.
Light Balance. Yeah, they're a little bit different than Illuminate and Light Balance, where they would look like they're floating. You know, again, fighting gravity, so they would look like they're floating. It would be dark. They'd have glow in the dark type items or light up neon type items. Very, very revolutionary in the world of AGT. It was one of the first to do something like that.
Right.
So it was kind of set the stage for future acts like Illuminate and Light Balance and Light Balance Kids to do something very similar. Matt Franco, magician, great magician. This will be a tough matchup, really, because Fighting Gravity is kind of one of my favorite acts.
Yeah. I think what makes him so great is how original, especially how original they were at the time that they were on the show.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on then to the 7-10 matchup. The 7 seed, another near and dear to my heart. A long deliberation on where this act should be placed in the field. I battled
or
her.
if it should be placed in the field.
I battled this act all the way to the 7 seed. A finalist in season 15, the incredible Danilia Tulashova, and she will square off against the 10 seed, another winner. Is this our third winner in this bracket? Yep, our third winner in this bracket from the latest season. Potentially underwhelming winner. The winner of season 16, Mr. Dustin Tavella.
Yeah, definitely a controversial winner.
Sure.
He really wasn't on at least our radar for winning season 16. I'm not sure if he was on a lot of other people's radar for winning season 16. Then he goes up against Danilia, who, I personally didn't know who she was. You're a huge fan of her. She does have a huge following. A lot of people voted for her. Apparently not enough in the finals.
Correct.
So this will kind of be an interesting matchup to talk about when we get ready to go through how things are going to shake out in our picks.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get to our final matchup in this region, to the 2-15 matchup. Our 2 seed in this region, another friend of the podcast, one of the great comedians in the history of the show, a runner-up, one of the more tragic runner-ups of all time, from season 7. It is Tom Cotter, and he will square off against another runner-up, so another automatic bid, hailing from season 9. It is Miss Emily West.
Yeah, and I don't remember a whole lot about Emily West. I remember she was a really great singer from season 9. I'd have to go back and revisit her acts, particularly to kind of refresh myself on what she's saying and how she's saying.
Yep.
But going against Tom Cotter, I mean, that's going to be a tough matchup for Emily West, because Tom's just going to come out. He's a AGT favorite, possibly should have been a winner of season 7. One of my personal picks we have the 3 runners up from season 7 that we always talk about.
Yes.
Of how they should have beaten Olate Dogs. So I love this matchup.
Yeah, it's a great matchup. Okay, so that is the Jerry Springer Memorial Region. Just looking at it from a region as a whole, I think there's just a couple of good potential later round matchups that I like. I think.
Yep.
I think a crash course for potentially a John Dornbos Shin Lim matchup in the 3rd round, in the judge cuts round, would be an interesting one. I think just right in that 2nd round, Matt Franco, Ryan Niemiller could potentially be a kind of a fun matchup to look at. So any other matchups down the road that pop out to you in this region?
Yeah, I mean, even if it could be like a Piff and Shin Lim type matchup, you got that as well. I mean, there's some upsets that can happen in this bracket. A Texas Tenors, Kaz Haley type matchup that we could, it's probably not going to happen, but there's always that possibility.
For sure. I know for a fact somebody that fills this out at home, if enough people do, somebody's going to fill in some big upsets here. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Our first 17 acts are in the field, which means it's time to move on to the next bracket. We'll go to Darcy Lynn's bracket in the Tyra Banks Memorial region. Like we had said, Darcy Lynn is the 1 seed. Her 16 seed matchup, the second play-in game. 2 acts that I think people wouldn't have a hard time forgetting. That were let into the field. The interesting thing is it's actually a rematch of the finals of their season from season 4. It is the winner, Kevin Skinner, who will square off in the play-in game against the runner-up, Barbara Padilla. So we get to rehash, and finally, Cody, our national nightmare, our long national nightmare is over. We're finally going to hash out the true, who should be the true winner of season 4. And of course, the winner of this play-in game will get the honor to play Darcy Lynn in the first round. Thoughts on this, Cody?
Yeah, so we have the winner and the runner-up playing for a 16 seed when the 4th place is over in the other bracket as a 11 seed.
Yep.
So very interesting here how we seeded this. So it kind of shows how we think about these acts, that maybe some of the other acts were better than a Barbara Padilla or a Kevin Skinner. So it'll be fun, in the play-in game when we pick these two to play. The winner of this will play Darcy, go up against Darcy Lynn, Kevin Skinner, Barbara Padilla.
We'll see.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think what we're showing there is we don't necessarily agree with America all the time. We seeded the 4th place from that season as an 11, and the runner-up winners as 16s. So, okay. We'll move to the 8-9 matchup. Always an interesting matchup just because they're clearly 2 similar acts, because it's the 8 and the 9 seed. The 8 seed, another recent act, a finalist in season 16, the great Jimmy Harrod, and he will square off against another great singer from season 12, 4th place from season 12. It is Miss Mandy Harvey. Cody, your thoughts on this matchup?
So I think Jimmy Harrod won the Hearts of America when he sang Tomorrow in season 16, and that was the one song that Simon just absolutely could not stand, just hated without a doubt. But then completely, his heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Yes.
When he heard Jimmy Harrod sing it. So I think he kind of won my heart as well. I really enjoyed it. I had him on my draft team, and got me to the finals. Not enough to kind of get me over that hump.
No.
But I really like Jimmy Harrod. I think he's got a great voice. Mandy Harvey, I'm not a huge Mandy. I mean, I understand the greatness of Mandy Harvey, but it's not one of my absolute favorites. She seems kind of basic, and I think if it weren't for her hearing impairedness, that she would just be another singer.
Yeah.
Jay talks all the time on our season 3 rewatch that we did, back in the that we did, and he would say another blonde girl with a guitar, and that's kind of what Mandy Harvey kind of reminds me of. And if it weren't for her hearing impairedness, she would kind of just blend in with other female singers.
Yeah, I think what sets her apart is she was an original artist, wrote her own songs, and that always is a bump for me. Okay, we'll move to the 4.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll move to the 4-13 matchup in this region. The 4 seed, somebody we've talked about a handful of different times on this show. We love this act, both of us do. One of the great crooners.
Yes.
One of the great crooners. One of the great, I would say, just one of the great personalities we've ever had on the show. A 5th place in the greatest season of all time in season 11, the great Sal Valentinetti, and he will square off against the 13 seed, a runner-up who you have recently finished talking about earlier this winter in your season 3 rewatch. The runner-up, an automatic bid from season 3, it is Eli Matson. Cody, your thoughts here?
Yeah, this will be a great matchup because you're right. We love Sal. Sal was one of our favorites when he was on season 11. Great crooner. The way he interacted with the judges, he kind of did that. Hey, I need to get extra screen time. I need to get noticed. I need to make sure people remember who I am.
Right.
The way that he would interact with Heidi, the voice, the way he owned the stage, just everything about Sal is great.
Yeah.
Just the name Sal as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to appreciate the name Sal. And then Eli Matson, great. Another one of those kind of bluesy type singers with the guitar. He wore the flat cap. A lot of fun watching him in season 3. It might be a little unbalanced in this bracket, but I think Eli Matson probably could give him a run.
Yeah. Okay. We're moving on then to the 5-12 matchup. Actually, a really interesting 5-12 matchup here. We'll get into it. I think one that I'm going to be looking long and hard at. So our 5 seed, a third place coming in from season 12, the father to Light Balance Kids. It is the third place in season 12. It is Light Balance squaring off against. I think we've talked about how this is kind of a cult favorite from season 11. A finalist, it is Tapeface.
Yeah, I love Light Balance. Another one of those that like Team Illuminate that did this dancing with the lights on their bodies. I went and saw Team Illuminate, so I really appreciate now kind of what these dancers are doing with the lights and the programmer that creates it. Very, very unique type act. Going against Tapeface. I love Tapeface in his auditions. As he went through the show, it kind of waned on me some. Mm-hmm. It seemed to get kind of drawn out and just not as interesting. I do understand Tapeface's originality and his humor, and I know he's got a great following. So this 12-5, sometimes that's in the main the big tournament. Sometimes that can be an upset game. So we'll kind of see how this goes.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on then to the 6-11 matchup in this region. 6 seed, an incredible variety act, one we haven't seen a ton of, but then we saw replicated, or at least tried to be replicated the following season. But it is third place in season 13. It is Brian King Joseph. You get 3 named Brians, and they're hard to keep track of. Brian King Joseph, the violinist, and he will square off against the 11th seed, hailing from season 6. Do you remember what place this act took in season 6? It is Team Illuminate. I don't. This was an at-large bid, but your thoughts on this matchup?
This is again another fun matchup with Team Illuminate, kind of the OG in that category of the lights on the body doing the dancing.
Yep.
Did it before Light Balance did, and of course Light Balance, but with kids. Did it. So I'll really enjoy kind of talking about them again. Brian King Joseph, I know the greatness of Brian King Joseph. He wasn't really one of my favorites, but when it comes to these violin acts that we've seen over the years, he is one of the top tier when it comes to that category. Much better in my opinion than Tyler Butler Figueroa. So this will kind of be fun as well, because I really, really do like Team Illuminate. Went and saw them in person. A lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, Team Illuminate was a third place in season 6.
Okay.
Okay. And the kind of the illumination of Team Illuminate, you also had Brian King Joseph, who was very keen in the live shows to the light up violin. There was kind of a light show in and of itself with him, so you kind of get some parallels there.
Yep.
Okay, the 3-14 match.
Hey, you never know, commenter. We could have a Team Illuminate Light Balance matchup at some point.
It's probably unlikely, but possible. Okay, the 3-14 matchup. The 3 seed. One of the all-time greats, one of the all-time impactful winners that we've had on the show, hailing from season 3. Season 2. The winner is Mr. Terry Fader, and he will square off against the 14 seed, hailing from season 13, a finalist, an at-large bid. It is Glennis Grace.
Yeah, I don't remember a whole lot from Glennis Grace. I know you're a big fan of her. I know I remember her as a singer, but don't really recall much that she sang. Of course, Terry Fator is legendary, ventriloquist from season 2. Big Vegas show. We talked about him a lot when we talked about season 2. I love watching Terry Fator. I don't know if this is going to be much of a matchup between the two of them. Yeah. I'm thinking Terry Fator may just kind of run away with this one, but
yeah, for sure.
You never know.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on then to the 7-10 matchup. An interesting 7-10 matchup. The 7 seed, another winner. The winner of season 8, a consistently talked about act on this podcast between you and I. It is Kenichi Abina, and he will square off against someone that we talked about earlier this winter with Jeff Sterling. A great rewatchable if you want to go back and check it out. Season 10 finalist. It is the Professional Regurgitator.
Yeah, so I think this is from my side not going to be much of a matchup. I'm personally not a big Kenichi fan. I know there's huge Kenichi fans out there. I am a fan of the Professional Regurgitator. I love his humor. I think what he does is very unique. His outfits are legendary. The conversation that we had with Jess was great. So I think that it's not going to be much of a matchup. I think we seeded these, but he might be seeded a little bit low. But so we'll have to see. There might be an upset here.
Okay. I don't disagree. Okay, we'll round out this region with the 2 seed and the 15 seed. So the 2 seed, a winner, not a winner of an AGT season, mind you, but a runner-up in Cody's bracket last year. No, did he win?
Yes.
Win or runner-up?
No, he was runner-up.
Runner-up in the 2021 Cody Patterson bracket. We'll get to the winner later.
Yes.
4th place in season 11, one of the great vocalists. It is Brian Justin Crum, and he will square off against a winner of an AGT season, the more important winning. He won season 5. It is another singer. It is Michael Grimm.
Yeah, and we've talked loads about Brian Justin Crum, how great he is. We did a rewatchable on him, so go back and listen to that if you want some more information. Yeah, he was runner-up because I was lauding and praising him and just giving you everything, and then all of a sudden I came out of nowhere with Oz Perlman as my winner last season in the tournament last year. So that was one of the biggest shocks that you'd probably ever heard from me. Was that and we'll talk more about Oz Perlman here in a minute. But anyway, Brian Justin Crum, I think this will be an easy win for him.
Okay, we're gonna move on here. Just one last look at this region. I think there's a potential Terry Fator Darcy Lynn matchup in the Elite 8 in the quarterfinals. So I think that's an interesting one. Kind of looking at a potential kind of fun second round matchup. Could be a Brian King Joseph Terry Fator matchup in the second round too.
Yep.
Could be interesting. So okay, let's move on to the Nick Cannon Memorial region down in the bottom left of our bracket. The 1 seed is Grace Vanderwall. The 16 seed play-in game, an interesting one. So we talked about that if you are in the field, or if you came on the podcast and have been a guest, you're in the field. Well, there was 2 Christians that have been on this podcast that had to be in the field. And so what we did is we pitted them against each other in a play-in game. So this play-in game is the Christian play-in game. It is Christian Stoinev squaring off against Christian Guardino. Guardino was a semifinalist in season 12. Christian Stoinev was a top 12, right? Because then they went to top 6, right? So technically a top 12, but basically a semifinalist also in season 10. And of course, the winner of this playing game will play Grace Vanderwall. Your thoughts on these 3?
Yeah, so we have the 2 Christians playing each other, and the winner of that will play Grace. So we got a whole Christian Grace theme going here.
This is turned into a religious podcast, Cody.
That's right. So this will be very interesting because a semifinalist and a top 12 versus basically a destined winner from her season. Like even from the beginning, everyone was talking about how she was gonna win this. So it may be one of these. It's not even close. But I think it'll be an interesting matchup.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move on then to the 8-9 matchup. The 8 seed, one of Cody's sneaky favorites of all time. Just another one that Cody felt was wronged in season 7. It is the great sand artist Joe Castillo, and he will square off against 9 seed and a winner of season 3, the late great Neely Boyd.
Yeah, so this will be great because yes, Joe Castillo, Tom Cotter, and the Earthheart,
William Close.
We haven't talked about him. William Close. Yeah. So those 3, I felt, were way better than Olate Dogs. I've gone on the record of saying it. Again, I don't hate the Olate Dogs.
Yes, you do.
I've always felt that they should have been at best 4th place. The 3 of them should have been top 3. There's always arguments of who should have won. Tom Cotter was obviously the 2nd place winner of season 7. A lot of people think Tom Cotter should have won. I think any one of them if any one of them had won, I would have been perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
Neely Boyd, we finished talking about Neely Boyd season 3. R.I.P. Neely Boyd, where the flat cap, big dude, opera singer, great voice from the beginning of his audition all the way through to the end. Just nailed it every single time.
Yep. For those that remember, Joe Castillo finished 5th on finale night in season 7. Okay. We'll move on to the 4-13 matchup. A high ranking recent season contestant. The 4 seed is a finalist from season 16. One of my favorites from this past season, a loyal Team AGT commenter member. It is World Taekwondo. And they will square off against one of the great snubs in the history of this show, a semifinalist in the great season 11. It is Stephen Brundage. Cody, your thoughts?
So I loved World Taekwondo. I wasn't as big on them as you and Jay were, but I did love them. I think this is a good seeding and good matchup for them with Stephen Brundage. Yes, Stephen Brundage, one of the biggest snubs ever in AGT, along with Colin Cloud. Should have been a finalist. The what he did with Rubik's Cubes and the magic that he performed, the way that he interacted with the judges and the audience on the stage was just incredible. I love this matchup, but I'm also sniffing upset here as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely, it kind of depends on if you're a fan of this show, what your cup of tea is. Are you both from a talent standpoint and also maybe like there's some people out there that really love the underappreciated acts that we've had on the show. So Stephen Brundage might be one that people might get behind. Okay, the 5-12 matchup. The 5 seed. This is a matchup between 2 winners. This is our first winner versus winner matchup. I think it might be.
I think it might be. Yeah.
The 5 seed winner.
Big difference in seeding here though between the two.
5 seed winner. Yeah. Season 14. One of the great memorable winners. It is Cody Lee, and he will square off against 12 seed winner of the weird. Crazy pandemic season 15. It is the poet. It is the spoken word poet Brandon Leake. Cody, your thoughts?
Yeah, so this is a good matchup as well because you have Cody Lee that was also one of these that was kind of destined to win from the beginning. Everyone knew that he was going to win. Cody Lee was going to win his season. Autistic, blind, singer, piano player, fantastic voice. I mean, just when he auditioned, everyone was just blown away by it. Brandon Leake, spoken word, little different. We talk all the time that it was very specific for that type of season. The season itself was just weird and different with no audience in the live shows. We had no comedians. This was a perfect atmosphere for his type of act. and what he did his poems and stories on really fit with what was going on in 2020. So that's why these Brandon Leake's kind of seated a little bit lower. It's just because season 15 is it one of the lowest rated seasons that that we have?
I mean it's down there with your earlier seasons, some of your earlier seasons where the show was still trying to get to know itself a little bit and stuff like that. So okay. The 6-11 matchup, we're going to go to, I think both of us really, really love this act, the 6 seed. I think we talked about when we did our season 11 finals rewatch, kind of gets lost in the shuffle of season 11 because you had so many big names at the top. But a great act. A finalist in season 11 is Sophie Dossie, and she will square off against another recent act, third place in season 16, comedian Josh Blue.
Yeah, so when Sophie Dossie was on, what she was doing seemed unique. It seemed like, this is something we really haven't seen before. It seemed special. Going back and doing some of these rewatches, commenter, we actually saw a couple do the same trick early on in the season. We had one contortionist that shot a bow and arrow. Now, it wasn't a flaming arrow. It actually had a suction cup. So back in the day, AGT was a little conservative on bows and arrows. But what Sophie did was very entertaining. She was a lot of fun. She not only did the contortionism with the bow and arrow, but also did some aerialist ring work. So, you're right. She kind of got lost in the shuffle of that season. Against Josh Blue, Last Comic Standing winner, season 16 finalist, right? Big was third place.
Third place,
yeah. Third place. So, Ryan Niemiller talked about Josh Blue a lot. So, really, really funny comedian. This will be a good matchup.
Yeah, I like both of these acts, for sure. Okay, moving on then to our 3-14 matchup. We're going to go back to another winner. Our first winner, our inaugural winner. Oofta, that was a bad job by me. The original winner of America's Got Talent. The winner of season 1 is Bianca Ryan, and she will square off against the 14 seed, fourth place in season 5. It is Prince Poppycock. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so this is a lot of fun. Prince Poppycock is one of the acts that I really wanted in here. He kind of gets lost in AGT lore as well. I remember watching him back in season 5? Season 6?
5, yep.
5, yeah, season 5. I remember watching him back in season 5 and wasn't a big fan. I thought he was very eccentric, wasn't very entertaining. But over the years, he's really grown on me. I kind of recognize the eccentricity of Prince Poppycock, his voice. He's got kind of that operatic type voice, but with his 18th century garb that he wears, with the wigs and whatnot. So I think it's a lot of fun. Bianca Ryan, yes, 14-year-old, 12, 13 when she won.
12 when she 11 when she won.
11 when she won, yeah. So 11-year-old when she won season 1 with Regis. So, this will be fun because it's two singers, one that was the OG 11-year-old and then one that had a little bit of eccentricity to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Prince Poppycock, a great voice.
Yeah.
Was a participant on Champions as well. Okay. 7-10 matchup. The 7 seed is a runner-up, so an automatic bid. Runner-up to, you can't fault them. They're the runner-up to the greatest of all time. Runner-up in season 13 is Zerkero, and they will square off against another winner and friend of the podcast, a double automatic bid, if you will.
If you have a long road trip and you want to listen to a podcast, go listen to our Landau Eugene Murphy Jr. podcast. That'll keep you busy for a while.
Yeah. That and the Ryan Niemiller one,
yeah.
that we did this winter as well. That one just about hit 3 hours. Okay, And that is the six, as you said, the winner of season 6, Landau Eugene Murphy Jr. Thoughts on this 7-10 matchup?
This is a good matchup. I mean, you got, was it Dancing Crew Zucchero? Is that acrobatic?
Yeah, kind of dancing acrobatic
crew against our crooner. So this will be a good matchup. Kind of seeing, maybe we'll look at the last matchup here, but we're kind of looking at maybe a Bianca Ryan, Prince Poppycock, Landau Eugene matchup somewhere along the way. So
yeah. Okay, we are going to finish then with the 2-15 matchup in this region. The winner of Cody Patterson's 2021 AGT Madness bracket. We did a terrific rewatch last spring on him as well. The third place, a tragic third place.
Yeah.
In season 10, it is the great Oz Perlman, and he will square off against one of 2 acts in this field that have been successful on, or have been participated in 2 different seasons. The finalist in season 1, it is the Passing Zone. Cody, your thoughts here?
Yeah, Passing Zone's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed them in season 1, and then when they came back later, it seemed repetitive when they came back.
Sure.
But when they were on in season 1, they were hilarious. Wearing, having, I think it was Hoff wearing the fire thing.
Yep.
Their comedy and the way they interact with each other, it's amazing. They've been doing this forever together. And then against the incredible Oz Perlman, I was amazed at how much I was shocked at how I did not know more about Oz Perlman than I did when we did this last year. When we went back and did the full rewatch, and I watched all his performances. He's incredible. I mean, he's so much fun. His magic is so great. He is what Peter Antonio really wishes he were. We saw Peter Antonio in season 16. He tried so much to be Oz Perlman and just couldn't get it down. So I love this because I love the legacy of Passing Zone, but the amazingness of Oz Perlman.
Yeah. I think 100% on all of that. I think that is the Nick Cannon Memorial region. Just looking at it, a handful of potential matchups I like. There's a potential Sophie Dossi, Bianca Ryan second round matchup, which is a fun one.
Yep.
There's a potential Cody Lee Grace Vanderwall matchup in the third round. And potentially, where depending on how you think of some of these acts, you could end up with a Bianca Ryan Grace Vanderwall too, which would be kind of the square off between the 2 great young winners, singing winners that we've had. So I love that region. We're going to move on then to our final region in the bottom right corner. It is the David Hasselhoff Memorial region. The 1 seed in this region, as we said, is Paul Zerden. His 16 play-in game. Runners up, one of the 2 runners up, and for those at home, we picked. So if you remember, there was 2 runners up in season 1. So I just asked Cody, okay, which one was better, and he picked this one. So that's who got the second automatic bid from season 1. So the automatic bid, the runner up that Cody liked better in season 1, it's all that, and they will have their playing game against the shameful runner up. He never should have been runner-up in season 10. It is comedian Drew Lynch. Cody, your thoughts on this matchup here?
Yeah, this is going to be good, and I really hate this matchup because I don't think Drew Lynch. I mean, and we haven't talked much about Drew Lynch because we haven't talked season 10. But when I watched season 10, I was not a fan of Drew Lynch. I did not think he was funny. I understand he has a stuttering problem. Not a problem. He stutters, and a lot of his jokes revolve around his stuttering. But the stuttering just felt distracting.
Sure.
And I'm wondering if his jokes would be funnier. This is really, really bad. This is really terrible to say, commenter. And I'm shameful. I'm shameful that I'm getting ready to say it. I wonder if his jokes would be funnier if he didn't stutter.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you watch him, it is definitely. I mean. It's a tough disability to have for that act, to be a stuttering comedian, because the key to good comedy is it flows and it all of that. So 100%.
Yeah, and then we get All That. One of the runners up, we had them and the Millers
Yep.
from season one. So I chose All That. The Clogging quartet, male quintet from season one. They were flared jeans and boots and white t-shirts. Very very 2005 2006 era clothing. But yeah, this will be an interesting matchup because I already think I know who's not going to go through to play Paul Zernan. So
Yeah, and if you do pick Drew Lynch, then that would be a rematch of the winner and the runner-up in season 10 in the 116 matchup.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the 8-9 matchup. Another one of Cody's kind of throwback favorites from season 7. Third place in season 7 behind second place was Tom Cotter. It is the Earth Harpist. It is William Close. And he squares off against another one of Cody's favorites as well. A finalist in season 12, one of the great comedians out there is Preacher Lawson.
Yeah, when William Close came out with the Earth Harp, basically it's a giant stringed instrument that stretches the entire length of the auditorium, all the way from where he's on the stage up to the balcony. And he has some special gloves he wears where he kind of plays the harp, or makes some he plays songs, and it's incredible. It uses the whole auditorium as basically the resonator for his instrument. And again, another crime that he was not one of the winners. Preacher Lawson, went and saw Preacher Lawson in person. Absolutely funny dude. One of the great comedians. Uses the stage. Physical comedy is second to none, and his performance on AGT is exactly what it is in person. He doesn't really alter it one bit. So if you enjoyed his performance on AGT, go see him in person. Highly recommend.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. 4-13 matchup in this region. The 4 seed. One of the, I think, another tragic runner-up. Somebody that I think a lot of people thought should have probably won the season. It is runner-up in season 5. It is Miss Jackie Evanko. Vanko or Vonko? What do you say?
I think it's Jackie Evanko.
Evanko? Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of a tomato-tomato situation.
Sure. Yeah.
And then our 13 seed.
Us those that are appreciative of the opera arts. We'll say Evanko.
Yes, much. It's a more austere way to say it. Season 13. It is the 5th place finisher in season 14. Voices of Service. Cody, your thoughts?
Yeah. So two different types of singing here. So we get the operatic Jackie Evanko against the trio Voices of Service quartet.
Then maybe it was 3.
I think it's a trio. I think it's a trio.
Yeah, it might be a trio.
Trio of former, actually I think former and current military personnel. Trio.
No, there was 4. I was right.
4 of them. Okay,
it's a quartet.
It's okay.
Yep.
Quartet. So sorry about that. So quartet of current and former military personnel going up against a young Jackie Evanko. I really like this. I think both had the opportunity to win their seasons. Yes, I think I thought at the time Jackie Evanko should have won her season. I mean, she still should have won her season. She was at the time they did the YouTube auditions, so she came out of the YouTube auditions. Like in season 3, they did the MySpace auditions. So that was very interesting that they got YouTube involved back then for that, and then she advanced all the way to runner-up.
Yeah. Okay. 5-12 matchup. This was an act we deliberated about of where this act should end up from a seeding standpoint. He ends up at 5th as a 5 seed. Runner-up, season 8 to Kenichi Abina, comedian Taylor Williamson, and he will square off against an act that is, I don't know where this podcast would be today without this act, Cody. It has driven many a conversation, and one we talked about back earlier this winter in one of our rewatchables. Go check it out. It is the winner of season 7. Beat out 4 acts that Cody says all should have finished ahead of. It is
3
the
acts.
Olate Dogs.
Three acts.
Sorry.
3
Yep.
acts. 3 acts. Yeah. So Olate Dogs at seed 12. Obviously, we see William Close at seed 8 up there, and we have
Tom Cotter is a 2.
Tom Cotter's a 2, and then we had
Joe Castillo's an 8.
Yeah, Joe Castillo's an 8. That's what I was looking for. So two 8 seeds and a 2 seed, seeded higher than Olate Dogs is a 12 seed. But again, I go on record saying the highest they should have finished was 4th. So this is kind of right on par where I think they should have finished their season. But if they had finished 4th in their season, they wouldn't be in this bracket. So
probably not.
Against Taylor Williamson. I love Taylor Williamson. I think he's great. He's another one of those comedians that interacted very well with like Heidi and the judges. Tried to get more stage time as much as possible. I think he probably should have done a little bit more in his season. So this will be a good matchup. I'm not anticipating an upset in this round.
No, I don't think Cody's going to have any problems not picking the Olate Dogs. Okay, we'll move to the final 16 acts here. Final 8 acts here in our field. The 6-11 matchup. We have our 6 seed, a finalist in season 13. A runner-up in season 2 of Champions, one of the great aerial duos that we've seen on the show. It is Duo Transcend, and then they will square off against the 11 seed, one of Cody's, I think is a good way to put it, is sneaky favorites that's been on the show. One of the great danger acts, one of the great danger duos. Cody considers them a snub. I thought they finished where they should have in season 11. Semi-finalist in season 11, it is Deadly Games.
Yeah, so then they've come back on the show multiple times. They've been a guest act on the show multiple times. I think they're performing in Vegas, or they did perform in Vegas. So they're getting recognition from AGT. AGT is even recognizing, hey, maybe you should have done more, and we're gonna help you out. You're a hot act. You've got 2 hot people that perform in this duo. And they do dangerous things with crossbows and knives. So it's incredible. I love Deadly Games. You're right. Another one of these snubs. One of our 3 snubs we have in this bracket. Duo Transcend. I think he's starting to get his vision back, or at least maybe they've stopped the regression. I think he's found some sort of medical treatment for his vision, and I think that they're getting that all worked out. But they're not really high wire, but they're a trapeze act. They do some kind of dangerous things. He's blindfolded. Both of these are incredible acts. They're similar but a little bit different. They're danger, but they're one stays on the ground and one goes up in the air. So
okay. The 3-14 matchup. This might be my single favorite matchup in the first round, just based off of these similarities in terms of category of act. This is a great 4 acts next to each other. This 6-11, 3-14 has great potential to produce a good second round matchup. Our 3 seed, 4th place in season 14, winner of season 2 of Champions, so they got an automatic bid. It is V Unbeatable, and they will square off against the 14 seed from season 9, 3rd place. It is Acro Army.
Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot from Acro Army. I'm familiar. I think I've seen a little bit of them. 2 incredible acrobatic acts here. I think Acro Army is more younger kids, and V Unbeatable maybe a little bit older. I mean, not old,
I think they're similar. I think they're.
Are they similar?
It's Acro Army says 11 to 27-year-old range. Okay. I think that was pretty similar to V Unbeatable.
So these 2 are almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
Types of acts. V Unbeatable is probably a little bit. They may have more high flying type people in their performance than Acro Army does. But they're 2 very, very similar. It's surprising they're kind of separated like this. I think that just may have been because of Acro Army's lower where they finished in their season.
Sure. Yeah. I think an interesting matchup that we put together for this opening round. Okay, 4 teams left, 4 acts left, 7-10 matchup. Our 7 seed, Cody loves. I think I would say you love this act as well. Refresh me on their season again.
Silhouettes.
It is season 6, runner-up. Season 6 runner-up. It is the Silhouettes, and they will square off against from season 7 a finalist. It is David Garibaldi.
Yeah, so my wife has reminded me on this that you have to do David Garibaldi and the CMYKs, or no one knows who they are.
Yes.
You got to add the CMYKs to it because that's
Didn't
the
fit on
important
the
part.
bracket.
It doesn't fit on the bracket, but still,
Yeah.
you got to have that because that's his act. Is he does painting, and he does painting that it looks very abstract, and you're not really sure of what it is at the beginning, but as he goes through it, then he actually does his painting upside down. So he'll paint he'll go through it. He'll be painting upside down. He'll flip it over, and then it's some picture of like George Washington or one of the judges, something like
Sure.
that. So it's just like one of these reveals. It's like, whoa, we didn't see that coming. So that's why he's kind of in this because of that. My wife actually wanted him in here. So it makes sense. He was a great original type act. Silhouettes, one of these original dance acts that performs behind a screen with a light shining through, where they're silhouetted, they're shadowed, and then they create wonderful artistic images in the shadows. It's almost like shadow puppets, but with full bodies.
Sure.
And they'll contortion their bodies to make it look like some sort of environment or atmosphere. And then they tell a story. So it's not just them doing random images. They tell a story. And there's some sort of song that goes along with that as well to tell that story. So they're one of the first to do that. This will be great because 2 artistic types of acts that are very original going up against each other.
Yeah, and David Garibaldi and his CMYKs was 4th place in season 7. So another, maybe the 4th. Is that the 4th act that should have finished ahead of Latte Dogs?
Yeah. So you would have had Tom Cotter, you would have had William Close, you would have had Jose, and actually maybe they should have finished 5th because I think you would have had him ahead of a Latte Dogs. So maybe the highest they should have finished was 5th.
Yeah, so there's you think there was 4 acts that finished behind a Latte Dogs. It all should have been ahead. So
and David Garibaldi is one of these that kind of gets again lost in the shuffle. They kind of get buried, just because it's so different than other types of acts.
Yeah. Okay. Let's round out our field here, Cody, with our final 2-15 matchup. The last 2 acts we'll talk about here. We'll start with the 2 seed, friends of the podcast. If you remember, we did it earlier this winter, a rewatchable and an interview with this act. They were runner-up to Grace Vanderwall in season 11, The Great Clairvoyance, and they will square off against the 15 seed from season 4, 3rd place. It is Recycled Percussion.
Yeah, so again, Recycled Percussion's another one of these that kind of gets lost, but they were one of the first ones to do these. Use everyday items as instruments. So they'd use tubes and trash cans and trash can lids and whatnot to create percussion instruments. 3rd place. So it's a very unique type act from season 4. We talk about them quite a bit in season 3 we did talk about them quite a bit in season 3 because there was another act very similar to them. But I always seem to think that Recycled Percussion kind of did this type of thing first.
Sure.
Maybe more like Blue Man Group did it first. But when I think of this type of act, I always think of Recycled Percussion. And then the Clairvoyance. Obviously, it's Clairvoyance. I say it all the time. My favorite act of all time on AGT. Now, friends of the podcast. That's why they're in here, because they came on the podcast. So it's an automatic bid, right?
Exactly. Another double automatic bid. For us there. Okay. That is the field. That is the 68 acts. That is who will be squaring off Let's do this. We are about ready to wrap up. There's a couple things I want to go through. So if you are a fan of the big tournament, we know that the selection process is very it's very revered and a very important part of it. And so what I want to talk about was the last 4 acts that we put into the field. So these were the last 4 at-large bids that got into the field. These were the 4 acts that we talked about probably the most that made it into the field. And so we had the Passing Zone, Recycled Percussion, Christian Stoinev, and Christian Guardino got the last 4 spots in the field, in the first 4 out of the field. So these were the 4 acts that, again, we also deliberated about for a very long time, and ultimately were just missed the cut to make the field. That was Laura Breton from season 11. That was Jimmy Rose from season 8. That was Christina Ray from season 15, and that was Chase Goring from season 12. So those were your last 4 in and your first 4 out. Any of those names stand out to you in those 2 categories there?
No, not really. We've talked about them kind of ad nauseum for
Yep.
many hours to kind of get through this. So there's reasons why we didn't include them, but if you all want to tell us why you think someone should be in the tournament or someone should not be in the tournament, hit us up. Send us a tweet, send us an email.
Right.
I'm not closing this out, but just hit us up. AGT Time Pod. We want to hear your feedback on all of this. What your thoughts are, because a lot of people are pretty passionate about their acts. So tell us what you think.
Yes. Yeah, and I guess if you look at it, those 2 Christians technically were automatic bids, given our criteria. So if you want to, you could also look at the other 2 that potentially could have been last 4 in, which would have been Glennis Grace, and Glennis Grace and Prince Poppycock. So, the final thing we'll do before we'll wrap here, just looking at the breakdown of how many acts from each season got into the field. Season 11 was the powerhouse, 9 acts from season 11. Now, 2 semifinalists. That means only 7 of the 10 finalists made it in. So they led the way with 9, followed by season 12 with 7 acts. We had 3 seasons that only got their automatic bids, seasons 2, 3, and 8. As I had said, Jimmy Rose was one of the first 4 acts out, so he would have been the 3rd act for season 8. Didn't quite make the cut. There was kind of a chunk of 5 acts. Season 7, 13, 14, and 16 all had 5 acts. And then seasons 4 and 5 had 4 acts. Seasons 1, 6, 9, and 15 had 3. So that's how we got to our field of 68. There's a little bit of a theme. I've always said that 10, 11, and 12 was the best stretch. You could throw 13 in there too. And those 3 were the 3 most acts into the competition. But a nice showing for season 7, I think, and a nice, actually a surprising showing for both season 4 and 5.
Yep. Yeah, I think some of those older seasons are a little underrated.
Sure.
But if you go back and watch them, they had some great acts in them.
Yep. Yeah, I think part of it is it's hard to remember a lot of kind of what happened. So you're trying to play the hits a little bit more, just to fill out the field. But again, season 7 had 5 acts in the field. That's as did and then seasons 4 and 5, as we'd said, both had 4. So well represented. Definitely more well represented than last year's bracket for the old seasons. So. That is the bracket. As we said, that should be released. You can print off your own and fill it out. If you are so inclined, we'd love to see it. As you had said, we will be back then, Cody, to break down the bracket and fill in who we think wins and who should be the winner. I'm excited for that to come out. And if, like we said, we'd love to know your thoughts on all of this.
Yeah, so we're gonna come back and we're gonna fill this out, and it's gonna be a multi-part podcast. So we're anticipating this taking a while. We'll do it in multi-parts. We haven't really ironed out yet how we're going to do that. We're just guessing it's probably going to be the first round, and then we'll kind of figure out. The first round will be a podcast, and then we'll figure out the rest after that.
Yeah.
But that's what we're going to do. So it's all going to come out kind of all together, but in separate podcasts. So you may get one on one day, and then a couple days later may get a second one. So this won't be the weekly thing like you're used to.
Yeah. Okay, that's what we've got. I love this bracket. Great job by us.
Yep.
Pat on the back for you and I for all the hours,
Yes.
the late nights, the coffee binges to get through this bracket. I hope everybody enjoyed following along. I hope everybody will fill out the bracket who's listening. We'd love your feedback, and I'm looking forward to us breaking down the bracket in full here next week.
Yep. Okay. So just to kind of close things out, you can reach us on the social medias, AGT Time Pod. We want to hear your feedback on this. Let us know your thoughts. You can reach commenter at AGT Commenter. Our email, agttimepod at gmail.com. So hit us up. And you got anything else?
I don't. Appreciate you. Appreciate your help getting this done, and I'm excited.
Absolutely. I'm excited too. Y'all have a good night. See you later.